Hey, all right. Facebook. This is sort of an impromptu, not well announced in future thing that's happening. It's a new edition of They Talk Funny. And today, in my virtual studio, I have uh, the wonderful guest of Ben Cardilli. And Ben is a comedy producer. He is also a performer and accomplished musician. And so he's got some exciting things that I'd like to talk to him about. And not only that, talk about the process of comedy and writing comedy. So, Ben, welcome to the program, They Talk Funny. How
Hey,
are you doing?
great. How
Good.
are you doing? Thanks for having me. What are you watching?
What am I watching? I know. I really. I don't know if I should be focusing on the camera. My camera doesn't have a long enough wire, so I can't set it behind the monitor.
No, I mean
So
I hear there's like a
oh, that is my wife working in the
okay.
next. She's in the kitchen. She's on a group meeting determining how well Montreal will survive this.
She has a
So
she has a very official voice. I thought you had like the news on, you know? She's a
well, she worked for Radio Canada for I said poor. So for a number of years, I don't speak French, but occasionally just a
it
French
just
word,
pours out of you.
yeah, just pours out of me. But yeah, so she worked for Radio Canada mainly as a researchist, but she was actually on air when 9/11 happened. So
Wow.
yeah, so she's definitely has the official voice.
Yeah, she has the chop. She's seen some things.
Yeah. So yeah, so she's crisis management. That's what she does incredibly well. Now that we've finished interviewing my wife, Ben, you're a comedian. You're also a musician. You've been doing comedy for 2 3 years.
About 2 years now, yeah.
About 2 years. And I think I saw you fairly early on, and you had an incredible stage presence, which I believe came from your background as a musician.
Yeah, I've been playing in bands well, playing music in general for about 20 years. So
20
it's
years. So you started when you were three.
no, I'm almost 33. So
You're
I
almost
started when
33.
I was
It was 13. 13.
13
I mean,
playing in bands.
I did the math.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was the front man when I was 3, but then I was demoted to lead diaper guitarist. I don't know.
Which I think that was a good training for you because you got used to talking online with people.
Yeah,
I
and
noticed
on
that.
stage, and it was kind of like that was the whole process was like I actually started having a lot of fun talking between songs, like having banter with the audience, and my band would get annoyed. They'd be like, dude, on your own time. And I was like, well, maybe I will on my own time, you know?
I realized that we actually have some viewers now. So this is streaming live over Facebook, and I'll probably be uploading this to YouTube a little bit later. So if anyone has any questions, if you're watching this on the Polish Comedy live, you can post a comment and we will see them pop up here. And I said that just as we lost all our viewers. But
It's like, oh no, he saw us, and they ran.
yeah, exactly. There is a. I do hope to be doing more of these in the future, but this is going to be up there for people to refer to if they want to get to know a little bit about the man behind the comedy and music, Ben Cardilli. You were also on La Voix, which was
Yeah.
the French version of The Voice, the Quebec French version of The Voice.
Yeah, because the French version is The Voice. The Voice.
Really, that sounds like it should be like the German version. Except,
It's
I think that you'd have to shout it
they
a
use
little.
the English. They just malpronounce it. So, but in Quebec, they're like, no, c'est la voix ici. C'est en français.
So, okay. Now, how do you think? Because you were writing music. How did you think writing music helped prepare you for writing jokes?
I thought it was a huge help, actually. First of all, because when you're writing anything, you kind of build like you build a protocol, you build like your method, right, of how you're gonna start something, how you're gonna try it, how you're gonna revisit it, you have more of a critical ear right away, when you're listening back to your own jokes, when you're listening for effectiveness, when you're listening for rhythm. I mean, the rhythm of the joke is huge, right? Knowing how long to have that little pause before you drop the punchline, how long to sound like you're unsure of yourself before you're sure of yourself again. There's like a million little things I found about joke writing to be incredibly musical, So it was really once it's a different animal in many ways as well. So, it still took a little while to adjust to filtering out things that pop off the top of your head that you realize might not work live or won't translate as well on stage. But eventually, once you do get an idea of the kind of content and the kind of voice you want to have, then it's pretty easy to get into the structure of using the tools that you have for joke writing. There's like a handful of rhythms and structures that work, as there are in pop music, when you're structuring a song, and you're going to put the chorus here, the bridge here, like it all ends up being kind of repetitive, and a lot of jokes work with the same bones in different words,
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So, I thought you were going to just say a lot of comedy's just repetitive. I don't know why I did do that old-timey, grumpy old man comic voice to do that, but
it's like pop music's like this and comedy's just stupid. It's really different. Actually, I find it maybe it's just because I've been writing songs for 20 years that they just fall together so easily, but jokes I think are different. They're something so much shorter is actually much more tricky to piece together, because there's nothing left to the subjective. You need a reaction out of everything, right? So It's a lot of give and take, and it's a lot of being open to failure and being open to reorganizing your thoughts and giving up on things sometimes. It's different for the ego, that's for sure.
Now that we have viewers again, and somebody has actually given this a like, I want to mention that they can leave a comment in the Facebook Live, and we'll be able to see this here. And I believe I should be able to pop their questions up onto the screen so you can see them as well. So welcome, say hi. I'm here with Ben Cardilli, who is a comedian and producer in Montreal before all this crap went down. But you can find him online at the Comedy Confessional, which is every Sunday.
Sunday nights on my Instagram, which is at Ben Cardilli. We also have an Instagram for Comedy Confessional, but I use mine because it has a few more followers, so it reaches a few more people. And it's every Sunday at 7:30. We do 4 or 5 comics come on and tell jarring stories about themselves. As you have, Paul.
Yes, and I've been informed I haven't told the most jarring story that I could, so I might
be on again then.
Oof. Yeah, it's the scary things that I could say. One of the things I do liked about the fact that it was on Instagram was people either saw it or they never did, because it doesn't rebroadcast anywhere. It's like, this is going to be until I delete it, it'll be on my Facebook page, or it's I hope to upload it to YouTube as well.
It's live in every sense of the term, but actually it stays up for about 24 hours after the broadcast.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's technically a story or whatever. I hate that word, story. Story of my life.
Great, because I feel
I want to apologize for sniffling so much. I just got a dog,
and you're allergic.
And I'm allergic, so I'm adjusting. I just didn't want anybody here to think I was like some kind of like closeted cokehead in my apartment. It's like, no, it's a puppy. It's a puppy. I'm high on cuddles.
It is a very beautiful, a cuddly puppy as well. The pictures I've seen on Facebook. He was bred to hunt badgers. Was
he? No. Shih Tzu?
No, okay. Is that what he is? He's a Shih Tzu?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think they have badgers where Shih Tzus come from, but Damn it! Who did
There's
somebody
a lot
just
of
got?
badgers in my neighborhood, though, so I
Yeah,
hope so.
it's also a great comic book. Okay, so now your career was just beginning to you were talking about touring just before all this
Yeah.
shit went down. And you were looking at that because you have experience as a musician as touring, and
Hmm.
you wanted to be sort of back out on the road and doing this comedy thing, and then everything kind of shut down around you,
Yeah, I
and
know.
we don't know exactly when this is going to be back up. Um, so you of all my comedian friends seem to have taken to the being stuck at home and still being creative almost the best. I mean, you, Elsbeth Wright, you're both producing unconventional type shows that are reaching a public and providing laughs. And on top of that, you are doing your music. Uh,
Yeah.
so you've actually are going to be doing a comedy album. You've been the videos you've been putting out have been killing it, and I'm only using a free version of StreamYard, so it doesn't allow me to show the videos, but they look amazing. The
Thank you.
and the
I
music is music's pretty tight. So uh, what's your YouTube channel that you have it on? Because you don't have it on your Ben Cardilli music YouTube
No,
channel.
I have a separate YouTube channel attached to my real email account, which is probably a bad idea. But on it's just I think it's Ben M Cardilli, YouTube/Ben M Cardilli,
Okay.
and
And
that will bring up my channel that just has the music videos and maybe a few other things. I think there's one bit from the Comedy Nest posted there, and just like music videos. But yeah, I figured like when we got locked in, one thing I had stopped doing altogether was writing music for the last 2 years that I've been doing comedy. It just didn't have I was out there every night, doing mics, trying to work on the craft, and I was kind of had that vicious grind addiction to it that, even my parents were worried. It's like, you've been doing music for 20 years. You haven't even picked up a guitar in 2 years. What's going on, So
yeah,
I rarely ever touched it. And then when we got stuck in, people kept telling me, though, you should put them together. You should do music and comedy, music and comedy. And I remember me and Dion Owen about a year ago, I started helping him with a project. He had a musical comedy project where he would improvise songs about people at the Comedy Nest called the 3-man quartet, right? So we were two people, and it was called the 3-man quartet. So it doesn't make any sense. It's double errors. And he would improvise these songs, and then one time we tried to write a song together. And so we sat in his backyard and came up with this song, which was Eating for the Sake of Eating, which is the first song I put out. And we tried to do it live, but neither of us had really memorized the lyrics. It was kind of a giant train wreck. And then after that, we kind of just stuck to doing the improv songs. I would play guitar and he would improvise about people in the audience, and it was fun. It was great. He's really talented at that, at coming up with things on the spot and singing them, which is pretty funny. And then when we got into quarantine, he reminded me, he's like, I think people need this song more than ever. So I recorded a pretty quasi-professional version of the song, since I have all the gear around me at all times. And I decided, I think I'm going to make like a music video. And first it was going to be really simple. And then when I got the camera going, I borrowed my mom's. She's got one of these DSLR cameras that she never uses. So I just commandeered it and started shooting. And when I got into it, because I did communications at Concordia for my bachelor's, so I had a bit of experience shooting video. And so when I got it going, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I even had Final Cut Pro on my computer that I bought and hadn't used in 2 years. So I just started like toying around with it. I'm like, oh, this is easier than I thought. And like just started putting together these videos. And so once the first one popped out and people seemed to like it so much, I was like, well, this is what I'm doing. I mean, the government's paying me. Like, I guess
you're
this is
providing
going
a
to be my
service.
angle,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it got so, it got to be like such a weekly thing that I think I've got like 6 videos out now, and I have a couple more songs that are almost finished, and another video on the way that kind of highlights the Montreal community as you are going to appear in. So I've got about like 9 songs, and with like a little intro, like I basically have like a full-length album kind of ready to come out. So I'm just gonna tweak some audio, finish it up and put it out there before it's irrelevant.
Yeah, and it's what's the format? Are you going to do it as like a video album? This is so weird. We still say albums, but no one people buy vinyl now because it was outselling CDs, but everything is digital format for the most part. Like when you're saying you're going to put it out, how are you putting it out?
So, I mean, I have like 5 or 6 videos out. I think after the one with all the comedians that I'm working on. Sorry. The one with all the comedians that I'm working on. I think that's it for the videos for now. I'm going to finish the album and have like 9 songs, and it'll probably come out on Bandcamp, but I'm definitely going to put it up on Spotify and Apple Music and everything as well. Because I have a couple, I have like some songs up there like from my regular music career, and I have like a program I can upload them through, and so I'm going to put them up there and hope people spin them. It's a dead industry, let me tell you. Spotify has murdered everything. It's like with 1 million spins, maybe I'll see a couple of cents, but at least people will have them on their playlist. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah. And the videos, the video versions will be on YouTube, so people will be able to see them, because there's so many layers to. I remember just seeing the caption. I think it might have been my second or third watch. I believe in the Netflix song. It's the basic AF dance moves. It's just a little caption in the corner. All right. Okay. So
it's what we're watching. Yeah. That was the only programming that we programmed ourselves. I'm actually surprised Netflix hasn't pulled that video down. I used a lot of their trailers. I went on and basically ripped them off of YouTube and then just dropped them on my TV. Superimposed them into my TV. So
it almost stands as a review, and it gets people talking about the shows. So I think that not that Netflix needs advertisement at this point, but I think I hope you can kind of make the argument that it's for parody's sake or something, or
I was just really happy about how the sample of the intro, how easy it was to pull that out and drop it in the song. I was like, that was like the last thing I put in the song, but it really like pulled the whole thing together. I was looking to, it just started with a regular beat, but then when I pulled that intro, I was like, oh my God, I just had to like correct the pitch a little bit and stretch it out a bit, and it just fits so well it even like gave so much like dynamics to the chorus and everything, just behind everything. There was just that ding ding. It's just, I was really excited when that worked
out. Now we talked about sort of how you started doing banter on stage as a musician, and how you felt that you wanted to kind of do that solo on stage, just as comedy. Who more or less were your influences when it came to stand up, to starting? Do you think that there's any influences still survive sort of in your voice today?
It's interesting. Yeah, actually, that's a good question, because the people that I was watching that really made me want to do it, really made me want to try. I got started my first time, there was a couple years that I think at least 2 years I was collecting jokes where I was like, I got to do this. And I kept threatening my friends, like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And they're like, yeah, you should do it. And then at one point they were just like, shut up, man, you're never going to do it. And I just like was collecting jokes and, probably pages and pages of useless material, not knowing what to expect when I got up there. Right. But eventually what happened was the first time I went up was in San Jose. It was my cousin's wedding. My cousin, who actually, they just had a baby a couple days ago. So that's nice. They're moving right along, you know. It was my cousin's wedding in San Jose, and we exactly. And we had some downtime because we all flew out there for 2 weeks, and there was this really, I was like, all right, you know what? I'm out here. I don't know anybody. I'm going to hit an open mic, you know? So I hit an open mic. I emailed into a place that was accepting submissions for their Wednesday open mic, but it was a place much like the Comedy Nest. So it was a big place. And
do you remember the name?
Called Rooster McFeathers or something, or
okay.
It was, I know, super bizarre, but they were I think they were the comedy club in San Jose, kind of. It was a big, fancy place. And because I was bringing 10 people, because my whole family was coming out to see it. So imagine adding the pressure of like...
family seeing you for the first time.
Exactly. It was terrible. So they gave me 6 minutes because I was bringing people. So, you know, there was some comics there that were... And apparently it was really tough to get on there. It would take you months and months, but because I was from out of town and I was bringing people, it was like a no-brainer. They just threw me on, right?
Yeah.
Put me in the middle of the show. And it wasn't amazing, but I would say about like 60% of it landed. And because I was catering to like my parents and my family, I talked about the wedding a bit. I roasted the... I think I roasted my cousin a little bit, but, I was way too much stage presence because with music, you're used to dancing around with a guitar doing stuff. And I was kind of just like going from side to side, like, and then we did that. And like a slam comedy kind of thing. And like,
if I just to interject, I find like every city sort of has its own flavor, and I'm talking with my hands right now. Cause like, I started in Halifax. I lived for like a year and a half in Toronto. In Toronto, people just stand behind the mic.
Right.
That's it. They don't they don't walk around generally.
Yeah.
In Montreal, I called it color and movement, and I've sort of absorbed a lot of that as I do a lot of physical acts when I'm performing. Do you think like San Jose, how would you describe the other acts who weren't you? Was there as much physicality?
I think there were a lot of subtle. They were all pretty subtle, I'd say. Mm-hmm. There was one guy that went on that I think was. It's like he had good delivery and good. He had good delivery and he had good like joke writing, but I think he was booed off stage because he was just terribly racist. So at one point it was just like the audience was fed up and they weren't following anymore. They're like, no. Get out of here.
Yeah, I have a hard, being racist and a good joker. I don't know if those two things work together.
Yeah. Well, it's like he had some clever ideas, but then it's like after the punchline is like, that was a little too.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like sometimes he'd straddle the line, but a lot of the time he was crossing it, It was it was rough, like you give someone the benefit of the doubt when they make you laugh off the top, but then you lose that benefit of the doubt if you keep going down the dark path, Yeah. But to answer your question from before, I know I got totally sidetracked, but I was listening to a lot of, like when I grew up, I would listen to, I grew up listening to Delirious, Dane Cook and guys like this. But when I actually started listening to wanting to do stand-up, it's when I was listening to a lot of Louis C.K. I was listening to a lot of Dave Chappelle, I was a big fan of the Chappelle Show. And but when I actually like took the leap, the specials that actually inspired me to do that. So it was interesting with your question because they were more like Mark Maron and David Cross, and like I watched these specials like, oh, these are, around the time that Trump was elected, all the things that were coming out then. I was like, oh, this is really intense. And these guys are really smart. And it's fun that they can just be super relaxed up there and just tell these relaxed jokes. And it just makes sense. And they're just using what they have and what's around them. So I really wanted to give it a shot. I was also watching a lot of comedians in cars getting coffee, and obviously that's just about the experience, and that was like a huge pump up, and I was like, all right, I got to do this. But now that I I'm doing stand-up and I'm analyzing, jokes and styles and all this stuff. I mean, I still love Mark Maron and David Cross, but when I went back to the specials that had inspired me originally, I felt like they weren't my favorite anymore. It was weird. It's like it's like once I had my head in the game of maybe it just like because it was less what I ended up doing with my voice. Or what I'm still trying to find my voice. I'm pretty new on, but like still it was less the kind of style that, I had clinged on to some fresher kind of, I'm still trying to find like new inspiration. I think guys more like Sam Morrill and Mark Norman are kind of really the guys that are to me seem to be leading the pack. But Mark Maron is he's terrifically talented. I mean, that special that it's still amazing. I just I don't know. It's hard to put, but it's just not. It inspired me then, and I'm finding new. I'm gonna shut up.
You're seeing new. You're seeing it in a new light, so you kind of
when you get behind the
a bit, and
that's it. Like once you get behind the scenes and you get behind the how it works and everything, I guess you just form different. You see things, but that's what I was worried about with starting comedy, because that's what kind of happened with music. When I was a kid, I was so excited. I had so many albums that I would just like let myself go listening to and just completely like fall asleep on the bus to them and all this stuff. And then when you really get behind the production of things and you really get behind the writing of things and you really get behind, you start to not be able to appreciate some of the things that you loved originally because you're too analytical and you're getting in your head about it and you're tearing it apart in a million different ways. And you're trying to get to the bottom of what makes it special. And in that search, it loses what makes it special, So it's tough. Like, the minute you start doing something and you consider yourself knowledgeable about it, you kind of, it's bittersweet because, it's an accomplishment, but then it also kind of, you get desensitized. Yeah. It destroys your appreciation a little bit. So, it's the catch-22. I figured it would happen, but it happened pretty quick. I guess I'm just cynical at this point. I don't know.
Talking about cynicism, you are also a show producer, and you mentioned how when you were in San Jose at Roosters, that the fact that you were bringing people helped you get on, gave you a little bit more time than others. And now that you're producing like your own show, do you find that there's a balance you need to strike between those who bring and those whose voice you want to hear? Or
yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely if I can bring up there's two schools of thought. I feel like in the Montreal, there's some shows that, I mean, you see it right away. There's some shows where it's 100% professional comedians that certain producers put on, and there's a lot of startup shows like this that are like, we're going to get 8 terrific acts on stage, experienced acts, and that's going to, people are going to get wind of that. But you don't realize that like comedy doesn't have, at least local comedy, the same kind of star power that I think television and music and stuff does, where like people have followings, so you're going to have an incredible show loaded with hilarious comedians, but there's literally going to be 8 people there because, it's who they are. Yeah, it's difficult. It's not, and when you're doing the same, you're working on the same jokes, when you're working on same jokes for a year, just trying to sharpen them up and getting them ready, then your friends can maybe watch them once or twice, and so the bringing power of the acts is not that. So you do have to balance. You do have to have a couple. When we started Comedy Confessional, one thing that we did that I think worked pretty well for at least the first couple of like the live Comedy Confessional that we did at we started it at what's it called? Honey Martin's.
Honey Martin's,
and
yeah.
then we moved it to McKibbons Irish Pub. But even when we started doing it at McKibbons, what we did was we had a segment called The Baptism, and we would have a first timer come on stage for a shortened amount of time, but they would always bring the whole crowd, honestly. Like, they're so curious about, oh my God, this guy's going to do stand-up. The energy was high. They were, and it was cool because they got and usually because of that energy, because they were surrounded by pros, and because there was so much, there was just so much excitement around them going up, and their friends were just excited. The friends ended up being a good crowd, and they ended up doing well. Because their friends, it was their friends, and they were excited to hear them say the things about their other friends, that they knew they would say. So it was great, and everyone had a good experience. So I think that, when I was a musician, it was like that. There was a lot of bringer shows. It was like sell tickets to your friends, or you don't get to play your whole set, kind of things like that. And it seems like a scam, and yeah, the people were raking in a lot of money compared to us. But eventually, you realize that for a first show, putting that kind of pressure on you almost teaches you how to produce. It teaches you how it works to fill a room. So there is some producers in Montreal, that are giving earlier comics a chance, and they're doing a good job of balancing the shows so that they're scattered in.
Yeah.
And everyone still walks away having a great time, but some people got a new chance, and they brought some people to fill up the room, and it's important. You got to build. It's a slow build. It's a slow build of a network that you want people revisiting your shows. And we're starting to see that with Confessional. We're starting to see some, a handful of repeat customers that aren't directly connected to me or my co-producer Michelle. Yeah. So that's cool. It's cool to see. It's slow, but it's starting to fill up. So. Well, now it's dead, and who knows when we'll ever get it. We're gonna have to start from scratch at the bottom. I know. That's what I'm trying to do with the live streams, right? Is like remind people that there's a show and this is the theme, and just like keep the brand alive until we get back a little bit, So it's, and maybe even imply some of the new techniques from the live stream, where it's like, the show was much more stand-up based, but we might make it more story based. Like we've been doing for the live stream, because it's a fun format, and it sets us apart a little bit.
Bill Wood used to do a show in Halifax at was it the Garrison Brewing House? I can't remember exactly where, but where the comedians would go, and they would do a stand-up set and then do panel with him.
Okay.
They'd get a chance to share stories, etc. So it was like you got two performances, and the Comedy Confessional on Instagram sort of reminds me of that, in the fact that people have the chance to chat and tell a story. So I think that's I really enjoy the confessional format, and the fact that, again, it's some people are bringing in some set jokes, but they're also telling a story that I have maybe not heard as an audience member, maybe not heard before. So.
And it's like we get to, shooting the shit about it just brings new life to it.
Yeah.
And it's something that someone's already said. They kind of have to go in and remember some of the extra details that happened. And it's fun, it's fun to refresh it. It's almost like it feels, when you're telling it in a story format instead of like a joke format, it becomes a lot more like the first time you told it,
Yeah, exactly. All right, we have been live here for about 34 minutes. I do have some more sort of general questions, or I kind of want your opinion on something. What do you think are the foundations of being a good stand-up comic? Like what skills?
I think that I've seen a lot of people that I think the most important thing you need is to be able to critique yourself. I think is to be able to look at what you're doing and just be honest and judge for effectiveness and non-effectiveness, and then because everyone's going to have their own process. Everyone's going to have their own writing process. Everyone's going to have their own speed at which they build material. Everyone's going to have their own I found something that really helped was starting the open mic at McKibbons and doing that on a weekly basis. Just being able to talk to people and start the show in a different way every week. And just, it's a rough room. It is a rough room. So, it's really kind of like builds a thick skin and helps you with, managing jumping between material and trying to make material natural, right? Trying to make it seem like you're talking to someone and you slip a joke in that you've maybe said 1,000 times, but it sounds like you just thought of it. Yeah. And that's the challenge, right? But
that's my answer to anyone who says comedians can't act.
Yeah.
Is we have to act like this idea is fresh.
I know.
After we've said it 150 times.
That's 100% it. Yeah. And I would say that, yeah, but being critical of yourself is important, because I see a lot of people that have so much potential and have a great presence, and you hear a lot of the same jokes. It's like, I'm just surprised by how many jokes I'll hear over and over again that haven't worked the first time, Yeah. And so I think like, and I started like that too, because when I started, I had these things, I was like, no, and I get it. It's like, there's like a personal thing. Like, I laughed my ass off when I thought of this, like, you're just not hearing it. Like, you just got to hear it better. And I'm going to say, and there's a way of like, you can chip away at it 2 or 3 times and try to like reorganize it, reword it until there's a point where you just got to like, okay, you got to give it the Valhalla, crossbow.
Okay, maybe it's because I'm older. So like, I'll put them away and then maybe revisit in a year or two to see if I can find a way to get into that thought a little bit better.
100%. Yeah.
I'm a strong believer. If it's funny to me, then I'll be able to make it funny for other people. It bothers me when I see performers writing for the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Yes. So you want as many people in the audience as possible to laugh. That's true. But if you can slip in a line or two that it's only going
just elevates it. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's going to make you memorable to that person the audience connected to, right? It's, that comedian who made me laugh, or, it was, Jim Francis who had that line about Mario Kart that like I totally relate to. These are the things that kind of help you get.
Yeah, you want to have details. You want to have your comedy be a little meta. Like there's like a little bit of, there's layers to it. And there's definitely times where I've been like, I say that line, I love it, it never gets laughs. But there's definitely been times where people come up to me after the show. It's like, that thing you said about that was hilarious. And I'm like, good. Like that's wonderful. And it's true that what you say about how, you'll put it away. And it has happened in multiple occasions where, months later, suddenly I wake up in the middle of the night and the joke has a new context, and it's like, this is going to work. Like, this is it. It's perfect. Right. And you have it there, and it just takes a while. Yeah. And to bring it back to songwriting, that's very much like songwriting as well. Sometimes you have this killer chorus and it just doesn't have a structure for literally years.
Yeah.
You're just like, I don't know what to do with it. And then one day you write this other thing you think is a chorus, and it's not. And it just turns out to be the verses for this other chorus, and it's perfect. And it's the best song you've ever written, even though it was kind of just dead meat for so long, Yeah. So it's true that sometimes it's just waiting for the right context. Sometimes you are literally ahead of your time, and you just need to back it up and wait for the joke to write itself. Right. But you need to, for that time, you got to have the sense to pull it off the stage, right?
Yeah. I want to thank you for your time here.
This was a lovely way to start the day.
Yeah.
I got to go walk the dog and sneeze my face off.
So before you do that, before you lose your face, any final thoughts that you have about online comedy as it's existing now, and the future of live performance? Like, what do you think?
I think that online comedy is, as it hasn't replaced, real live comedy and the excitement factor and then the community factor and the way that people sit together and, being in a dark room, laughing at things that your subconscious wants to laugh at. That's like the cathartic part. When you're at home, you judge yourself more. When you're in a well-lit room, you judge yourself more. You kind of like hold back. So it's great. I think it's great just for the fact that it's a time where a lot's happening. There's a lot of material on the table and we're all just sharing ideas. And I think the sharing ideas part of comedy and the looking at things from different angles part of comedy is what's important for people to hear and for people to, it's just soul nourishing to be able to hear as many opinions on a certain subject that are not your own. I feel like that's part of what makes a comedy show special. It's kind of, or maybe it's something you have thought of and you can't believe that someone else thought of it too. It's just comedy is almost one of the last forms of free speeches. And, when you have, and even then it's threatened, but if you have these forums where people can get together and just be silly and kind of just loosen up, I think it's really important. But I'm really excited to get back to actual stand-up comedy. I think that people are going to be starving for it. And I think it's going to be exciting because all the comedians are going to be almost starting from scratch. Everyone's going to have a bunch of new material. And it's also going to feel like the first time they've ever done comedy. So I think it's going to like strengthen the community because we're all going to have to just band together to just like help each other get through this and be like, yeah, man, that first 5 minutes is great, but we're all just going to suddenly be newbies and it's going to be great. I think it's really going to be fun and we're going to build a new appreciation for each other's writing. And I'm excited. I'm really excited.
That's great. And I'm excited for the Great Indoors comedy music album that's going to come out. And your next time that you're going to be doing the Comedy Confessional on Sunday nights, 7:30 on Instagram. Do you have a Facebook page as well? So people who
so you can find me Ben Cardilli Laughs on Facebook.
Ben Cardilli Laughs on Facebook. Definitely like that. If you're watching this on Facebook, you probably already like my fan page. But thanks.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming out. Everybody, thank you. We've had a number of watchers all through it, so that was kind of exciting. So that means the technical format of using StreamYard has worked. So there's potential there for doing more stuff. So thank you, Ben, and I can't wait to see what you come up next.
Thanks. Excited to see you in person sometime soon.
Oh, is that a threat? Are you threatening to kill me right now?
I'm just going to show up on your door with donuts.
Donuts. Damn it. I think I might die for donuts.
As long as it's worth it.